Hello and welcome to Photography Out Loud. My name is Paul Davis, and as always, I'm joined with my colleague Joe Longbone. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, I was almost thinking that we may need to start looking into a new intro into the video. Maybe
100%.
I don't know.
Yeah, I do think so.
Could we get something that's maybe easier than saying
Easier
the bare
than
minimum?
what?
Well, what I've just said, which was the bare minimum. So, because I can just about manage that, can't I? That's the problem.
Oh dear me.
I'll tell you what, we'll have to, if anyone's got any interesting ways that we can enter the Photography Out Loud video, put them in the comments below. And you can
Paul,
you can try and make
cartwheel.
No, like, yeah, I mean, yes, it could be something like that, or it could be worded in a way that, and we could have a go at saying it then. And
like what?
I don't know. Like what rhymes with photography, or I don't know, something like that, and out loud, or.
Okay then.
Okay. Anyway, well, if any of you've got any suggestions to how we can slightly change the introduction
introduction
into Photography Out Loud, put them in the comments below, and we'll have a go at them. So, how's your week been, Joel? You okay?
Yeah, good. It's been quite wet though. We had one nice day on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday was good. I managed to mow the lawn at home.
Yeah, and it's
which I'm very glad of.
Miserable for the last couple of days, isn't it?
Yeah, but at least we can still get to work and not use a boat. Although, I think at some points over the past few days, it's
definitely getting close. You know what? This week, Joel, I'm a little bit annoyed, I have to say.
Oh dear. With what?
It's hard. It's been hard getting stock.
What do you mean this week? It's been this for the past 15 months, 16 months, however long it's been going on for.
But it's been really getting to me this week.
We've been having telescopes arrive this week that we ordered in April 2020.
I think it's just got to me a little bit this week.
Is that because you wanted to sell an R5?
Yeah.
And you couldn't because there was no adapters.
There's no adapters. So, but yeah, no, I think it's just got to me a little bit of week. But yeah, no, it's still a bit of a challenge to get a hold of stock. But stock is coming through and it is trickling through now. So it is. Please do not fear. If you did want to order something, then it shouldn't be too far away. But it's always best checking with us. And you can always get in contact with us the normal ways, or available on the phone. You can give us a call in the shop, or you can message us on Facebook through the website. Lots of different ways of getting in contact with us. So as always, we do appreciate you checking in with us.
For sure.
Yeah. No. Have we got any? Has there been any news updates?
No, apart from Nikon not making DSLR lenses at the moment for some reason.
But okay. Hopefully,
who wants DSLR nowadays?
So is that all?
Shots fired. I'm just kidding. Love DSLR.
Is that all of F mount then? So it's like
I think they're talking specifically about the 400 lens.
Right. Okay. You know what? It might be the D. It might be the D lenses. Maybe some of like the older ones. They might not. Yeah, anyway.
So they're probably realizing that people really, really want Z mount lenses.
So they're sort of changing their manufacturing. That a
so, I don't know.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. What else was I reading? I should write these things down, shouldn't I?
Yeah, I should do. Can I just say as well that just in case anyone was a little bit confused
by what,
like like what Photography Out Loud is about, and what it should be about, and maybe, but we really don't plan these, do we?
What do you mean? I spend hours trawling the internet for information. No, that was a lie.
So
sorry.
It is purely, what we are thinking at the time, which I think what makes it quite nice. It is sort of.
Some people might not want to know what we're thinking at this time.
Yeah, that's very true.
I suppose they can always switch off if they don't like it.
Yeah, indeed. Should we go to the comments, Joel? Should we have a look who's watching today?
Right. David Yeoman says, "Good afternoon, ready to be illuminated." Oh, very good, very good.
Nice.
Good to see you the other day. Yesterday. Yes, yesterday. I'm quite sorry that I didn't manage to sell you a peak bag, but there we go. Every time he sees me, he just thinks about my love of peak bags. Snowden Curtis says, "Good afternoon to you both." Good afternoon to you too.
Good afternoon.
Ian says, "Hi guys, did you enjoy the sunbathing today?" Yeah, we just go into the studio and turn all the lights up on full. Andrew says, "Hi all." Hi Andrew. Hope you're well. John says, "Afternoon, gents." Good afternoon to you, John. Good to see you here. Steve says, "Hi guys, you've rescued me from house DIY. Great to have a break from jobs and see you both. Awful weather here." Yeah. I don't know. House DIY is great up until the time when you don't have the right tool or you don't have the right things. Or for me, when I'm trying to drill a hole in a wall in an old house, and
I enjoy DIY. I enjoy DIY on my own terms. So, if I can just sort of do an hour and then maybe leave all the
DIY light, LITE, just the light version.
Yeah, no, definitely. That sounds.
Does IKEA count as DIY?
I don't know. Does it?
I've always wondered, but there we go. Johnny says, "Afternoon, likey lads. Hello. I think something might be winging its way to you soon, Johnny. I'm sure you'll be very excited about that." What's this? "I have a little surprise for you, but won't let me put it on these comments." Oh, have you done a meme or a GIF?
Oh no!
If you have, can you send it through to the Cambrian Facebook Messenger, and I'll have a look.
We'll find a way of getting it on screen while you're live.
Oh dear.
Some way or how.
Tina says, "Hello guys, David, you should buy a peak bag." Don't be naughty now, Tina. Yeah. Oh, he has said, "Check your Facebook Messenger." I will. Dear me. This could be interesting. David says, "Already bought one for my wife, and she almost bought a different bag." Oh.
You're gonna bring it.
That's fantastic. Evaluative metering. That's it. Oh. Oh, here we go. Partial metering. It's the next one.
Oh no.
Oh no, it's not the next one. Center weighted. Excellent. Oh dear. Johnny, you're a very bad man. I'm 100% saving these to my phone. Oh, there's spot metering. Excellent. Oh, I'm dying. Thank you, Johnny. Paul, are you ready to come out with some other meme-worthy video content on the lighting?
Maybe one day. You have to give me a minute now. Thanks for that, Johnny.
You've broken Paul now, Johnny. Shocking behaviour.
Doesn't take much, as we've noticed in the past. This week came from a comment that we had last week from Steve, actually, wasn't it? So obviously, any questions that you've got photography related, and we're dying for ideas. Then, so what we do is obviously any questions that you do have, and we feel that it could go into something a lot more, then we can do an episode on it. So thanks for Steve for asking the question. I was going to say asking the question of, but we didn't save the question from last week, did we? So
I'll find it whilst you're talking.
I've got to carry on talking. Yeah. So I'll just say again. Obviously, if you have any photography related questions and you'd want a nice little discussion about it, or discuss with the people watching live, obviously the nice thing that we do here on Photography Out Loud is sort of discuss, and some people tell us that we're wrong or right, and that's part of the fun. So, but yeah, I think Steve asked the question regarding it was sort of the difference of LED lighting against flash lighting in a
I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't hear all of that because when I tried looking on my phone, my AirPods moved over to my phone.
Oh dear.
Technology is great, isn't it? Here we go.
It certainly is.
Question for you. Noticed LED lighting kit on the website. Would they be usable for portrait lighting, as would be brilliant in locations where lack of space for softboxes?
Okay, yeah. So good question. What we will do is we will jump into, obviously, the main difference into really LED and flash, because they do have fors and against for each one, really. So do you have a preference when using stuff, Joel, or does it really depend on what you're doing?
Yeah, it definitely depends. I guess if I could choose, it'd be continuous, just for the simplicity of it, and knowing that I could do video or stills. Like I was photographing my daughter for her first birthday photos, and using continuous was great because we could film her being silly with a cake as well as taking pictures. So that was good, which we wouldn't have been able to do in the same way with strobe. But strobe in the studio, or if you've got like speed lights, I don't know, it's very difficult to beat strobe. So
I mean, you've definitely touched on, I would say, one of a key feature. If you're looking into a single lighting kit, then one of the nice things about using continuous lighting against sort of strobe lighting or flash, we'll call it strobe for this episode rather than trying to find out. So anytime you hear the word strobe, we're talking about flash. One of the main differences is that you can use continuous for video. So as we both are actually, well, I know I am. Have you got a light on? You've got a bulb.
Well, I've got a light on. It's not a fancy LED bulb. It is daylight balance, though.
Yeah, technically it is continuous, so we're not wrong. So
but it's not LED.
No, but obviously with like LED panels and stuff like that, you can use them for video as well. So in moments like where you were with your daughter there, Joel, you were taking pictures, but you were able to actually use it for video use as well. And I think another one of the points that you hit on as well is the ease of use of it as well. So and I think this is another big factor of using continuous lighting as well, because you see what you get. It is definitely something you don't even need to pick up a camera to start figuring out of what the picture is actually going to look like. So you can start building how you want the picture to look like. For portraiture, because I know that's what Steve asked the question around. Is that as soon as you turn on something like an LED panel, then straight away you're going to see the effect of what's actually going to happen. So, and then a lot of the time nowadays, go on.
And control of, obviously you can see it, but you can control the brightness very easily, obviously, with most of them with either a knob or buttons, but also the color temperature, which helps quite a lot if you are wanting to go for a warmer shot without having to mess with white balance, especially if you're doing video work. But
yeah, and I think as well is that when you look at, sorry, I've just got messages pinging in. Just let me turn my. Where's that moon button gone? There it is. Right. Sorry about that. So the. With the more modern ones as well, I know we do a lot with the nanlights, don't we? And they have what they call the pavo tubes. That we use them in a lot of the videos that we do. They're battery powered
lightsaber.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And as well is that you mentioned about the white balance, but typically what you find with those as well is that they come with an RGB spectrum changer built in as well, so you can sort of add various different lighting in different colors as well if you wanted to. So
it's good for washes, isn't it? background washes.
Yeah, absolutely great. So, if you wanted to add a color and, you're seeing that effect. So you're actually doing a lot of the setting up sort of with your eye, which makes it really great if you wanted to start in learning even some of the, like classic sort of lighting techniques as well. So, like a single sort of spotlight coming in, you start to really understand about, where shadows are going to fall, and the different sort of shots that you're going to get from them. So,
you can make
really
it easier with mixed light sources as well.
Yes, yeah. And
where you can't necessarily control all the lights.
So it does come down to you can see what you get. You're going to get that adjustable color on it. I think most of even the sort of cheaper units now at least come with the white balance correction as well, don't they? So you can go to one or the other.
And they're more robust quite often. If you drop a flash gun, they don't always survive. Whereas LED, there's not a huge amount to go wrong.
I don't know though. I wouldn't like to drop either of them. I don't think.
I don't know. Yeah, but a flash gun's more fragile, isn't it? I would say
potentially. Yeah, they do come rubberized. I think it does come down to the actual make at that point more than anything.
But I love the fact that you don't have to mess with triggers.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it does touch on one of the things as well, is that LED lighting is arguably probably cheaper to get into than strobe lighting, especially when you're talking off camera as well. You mentioned about triggers and stuff like that, which we'll get into sort of when we talk a little bit more about the flash. But it's probably a lot cheaper to get into with the continuous lighting kits, I would say, rather than going down the sort of strobe sort of system as well. So
you can essentially pick up LED thing. Like they won't be the quality of light won't be as good, but you can even pick up a LED torch from like the pound shop.
Exactly.
Other shops may exist, but like you even like head torches from camping and things like that, and even bike lights that are LED, all those sorts of things can be, if they're big enough and give you enough light, then they can be used, which are, a couple of quid compared to what, minimum of 100 almost for a strobe.
Yeah, I think
maybe 50 quid depending. So, but
yeah, I think you need to probably spend a lot more on a strobe light, really.
Sure.
to start seeing advantages. But yeah, no, I can get what you're getting from. You could possibly get like a flash, if you looked hard enough, for under £100 if you're willing. So against buying something from a pound shop, of that sort of same quality. So it's definitely a lot easier to start understanding on sort of how lighting falls on subjects and things like that. So I mean, LED panels and all that sort of thing, they do come with their drawbacks. And I think I know one of the main things that Steve mentioned was, he mentioned the word out on location. Now, out on location indoors, I wouldn't say would be too much of a problem. But then when you start talking about lighting outdoors, that starts to become a little bit more tricky, because typically sort of continuous lighting, LED panels, LED lights, they're generally underpowered when you sort of put them against what you would get with a strobe light. So there is something that you need to be aware of, is that they might not give you the oomph that you'd normally get from using a flash gun. So if you have been using like a flash gun on top of your camera, and you've had pretty much all sort of apertures and shutters available to you, and fairly low ISOs if you need to, then using LED lighting, you start to sacrifice there. And I think one of the things that you do potentially need to do is, especially indoors, depending on how powered your lights are, you might need to push your ISO up a little bit, which is going to obviously affect your image quality in some way.
I think it's one of those things you kind of have to see to understand a bit more, potentially, or see examples of, don't you? So, but yeah, outside speed lights or strobes would be your best friend, I suppose. Yeah. And also carrying them, a speed light's a lot lighter. It's just the modifiers that take up the space, like Steve was saying, and you can get a softer light off an LED versus a strobe. That's just the nature of the way the light is spread, isn't it? So you go from like focusing like this. Oh goodness me, I'm going to get close to doing what you are going to do then, and then you can have a bigger panel.
So. Careful there, Joel. Meme that for us, Johnny. Cheers. That's very close. Very close. Well. Yeah, good save there. Yeah. So, and I mean, the other, I would say one of the other factors, that you need to be aware of with LED panels as well, is because they are always on. You're either going to need to be constantly plugged in to the mains, like the light that I'm using at the moment. So that does mean sort of trials. I said a word that's hit me. It's these two words, isn't it?
Trailing wires.
Trailing wires.
Cables,
Cables. Trailing cables across the floor. I'm going to have to go to speech therapy soon, I think that's the only way that I'm going to get out of this. It could cause a trip hazard, maybe. I mean, we're going sort of pretty bottom of the barrel here as making up excuses.
Or if the HSE.
Yeah. But if you are using sort of like batteries that plug into LED lighting, they're going to drain a lot quicker than, if you were using strobe lighting. You'd get an hour's shoot with constant continuous lighting on, maybe on a battery, where you could probably do the same all day with a flash, if you want to as well. So, and potentially as well, I don't know whether there's probably fors and arguments against both of these, but I would say LED could be quite distracting sometimes. You know how, because they're always on and they're constantly bright.
Well, for portraits as well, the eyes and the way the pupils work, as well. So yeah, it's one of those things where you have to consider what you're trying to photograph. I'd say continuous lighting, in a darker area, like in a building, or like an empty building, kind of if you're doing urbex and then doing some portraiture at the same time, or under in woodland where the light has been cut off a little bit or it's dappled, then LED can be quite good. Because I think some people struggle with strobe to control how harsh the light is. You can tell it's been lit by speed light just because it kind of has that, I don't know, just harshness to it that I don't personally like very much. So I think with the natural ability of LED just to be a bit softer. But then again, it comes down to modifiers, and that's probably a whole other conversation, isn't it? It is. LED versus strobe is like the modifiers as well that are available to use. So.
But, I mean, you are touching on, I'd say the main disadvantages of flash as well is that learning time that you need to take to understand what's actually going on. And it's almost, when we're going to flip everything sort of on its head now and start talking backwards about what we did with the LED stuff. But because you can't see the light that you're getting out of it, out of flash, then that learning time and learning effort that you need to put into something does take longer. So flash is diffused. You may feel that it can be more harsh, but that's part of that learning experience that that you need to go down to figure out sort of how it works and stuff like that.
Sure.
and it's mainly because, you know, when we use flash is that we can't see what we're actually taking a picture of. So, and that comes in even if you're highly skilled in sort of flash photography. Now, obviously, you know, here at Cambrian, we're studio based. We do a lot of flash, especially, you know, with portraits in the studio. And I can't remember how long I've been doing it for now. It's been a while, but
couple of years.
I would say that I'm nowhere near an expert on it. And you know, I'm using the same lights sort of day in, day out, but I'm still taking the time. I'm still taking a picture. I'm reviewing it. So even with experience, I think that's something that you've always got to consider, is that with flash lighting, even with experience, you're going to still be taking a test shot. You're still going to be looking at it. Then you might need to adjust it where you think the light might go, and then you need to take another test shot. So even with experience, there's going to be a little bit of back and forth, even when it's there. And obviously, if you're new to flash, new to strobe, then you know, there's going to be a lot of trial and error in there. I mean,
like when you set the shutter speed too high and you get a black bar and go, what on earth is going on here?
That's a very good example of you know, the learning time that you need to do with flash photography. There's loads of little things regarding, you know, there's a sync speed. There's some flashes that will run on high speed sync, but how does that work? You know, and especially if you're off.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
Double camera action again.
Yeah. I was going to say, also understanding refresh time of your flash or strobe. Obviously, if it's plugged in, it tends to be a bit faster. But if you're, you know, shooting at even like half power or quarter power, it's still going to take longer for it to refresh and get ready for the next shot. Something that you might not notice in normal portraiture, but if you're in an event situation or you're photographing a family or some kids, like that's where I found refresh rate. You're kind of like, come on. Like the amount of shots you get, bright, then a dark, bright, then a dark, because you're firing faster than the strobe can keep up with. And I think that's something you have to understand with any kind of, well, I suppose it's like anything in photography or most things in the world. You got to understand what you're using it for and understand the limitations and work around it. But I think strobe probably, I don't know, still is the go-to, isn't it? The learning side of it is big, but I still think it has a lot of advantages over continuous.
And I think mainly because it's the control that you have. So, you know, where we said LED lighting is potentially underpowered, you know, you could almost argue that flash is overpowered. You know, it has all the capabilities, and especially the modern ones now that will just fire just an ever so slight amount of flash if you need it. So you can use them in incredibly low power, or you can really ramp them up.
I think the other great thing about flash, especially with TTL and all those whatever they want to call them, ITTL, ETTL, all these different TTLs, all of those things just make your life easier, and being able to flash compensate as well, especially if you're doing portraiture where the light might be changing quite a lot, or you're doing event photography and you don't have control of all of the light for whatever reason, or you're moving from place to place and you don't have time to kind of mess about with settings. Being able to leave it on ETTL and then just wind it up or wind it down on your camera, it's fantastic. And knowing that the quality of light is always going to be there, and that you can run that faster shutter speed and know that, you know, you're going to get a nice still sharp shot. But again, I think that's part of the creative process, isn't it? Is understanding what quality of light you're going to get and how that affects your shutter speed and the aperture. Because you can essentially run different apertures more easily with continuous light than perhaps you can with flash in some cases. So that's also like a consideration, isn't it, in terms of the power that they both give and shutter speed control. So
yeah, definitely. And I think as well, like you mentioned, like, you've got TTL, and you can have off-camera TTL with high-speed sync and all that. And I think that falls back into that sort of price bracket thing as well. You can get a really decent quality panel light for like 150 quid that will work off on its own battery and stuff like that. But to get something that's going to give you something that you can just put down and then with a trigger, you're looking at spending 250, 300 pounds to get something with a trigger and a flash that is going to work off camera for you. But it's going to give you ultimately more control, but there is that learning experience to take into mind as well. I think as well. Go on, sorry, mate.
The other great thing about flash versus LED, unless you're going to spend a lot more on LED, is the control over flash in terms of groups of triggers and being able to set power levels remotely. Because some of them, like the Bowens kit, is very clever in terms of being able to tell each flash head how much power to give out, which is very handy in trying to, when you've set flash up and all over the place and you can't necessarily reach it with ease, being able to control it on a like a master. Yeah, but it tends to cost you more to get the LED.
I think it does, because I think at that point it jumps into the video industry, doesn't it? And then for some reason, like an extra zero is added at the end of it. So
like
we
weddings.
Can make it. Yeah, yeah, like weddings. Yeah. So they are available. I mean, I think because the Manfrotto lights, they did it, didn't they? But it was part of the digital director kit. So you had to buy the digital director, and then you could use their director lights off it. And that wasn't too bad, but I don't think they're pushing forward with that system anymore, just because I don't think the market was ready for it when it came out about 5 years ago. So I think with flashlighting, I find it more portable than LED lighting.
Well, if you're using speed lights,
yeah.
If you're using studio heads,
well, that's what strobes are, aren't they? So studios don't strobe; they flash in a different manner. But with strobe lights, they fit into a single bag. I can understand, like Steve mentioned, without taking soft boxes and stuff like that. But I would say you could probably buy smaller soft boxes to fit on stuff and smaller stands.
Do them, don't they? The magnetic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the Rogue flash benders are great as well, because a lot of those will collapse down, won't they? So you can have a snoot and then it just folds flat, and you can shove it in like the back of your camera bag without it taking up any space.
So I think you can almost get it down to like one bag. I think if you were carrying LED that was enough to, you talked about working in the woods and stuff like that. So outdoors, but in like shaded areas, I think that would be in an additional bag, because they would be sort of careful with the hands. They would be
you're gonna duct tape your hands to the desk.
Yeah, to the desk. Yes. So, got to be careful now, Joe, what I say. And then, what's I saying? Yes. So you're going to be taking a bigger system with you, I think, with LED. But I don't know. I'd love to hear some comments on like how people are getting on with like the various different ones that we get. But I think there's one. Well, there's a couple of I do like flash, so I got to stick up for a little bit as well, don't I? So I think one of the main factors with flash, though, well, is it a factor? It's an effect, isn't it? But it stops motion. That is one key factor of flash. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because the way that you'd want to express motion is totally up to yourself as a creative photographer. But obviously, if you're wanting to stop motion, then it's got to be flash that you're looking at. So if we're talking about, those, the water droplets and, the collisions that they do with the water droplets as well, things like that would have to be done with flash. The amount of power that LED would need to capture that would be quite intense and would be quite warm, I would imagine. So
enough to get a suntan.
Yeah, and I think the other one, a couple of the other key factors is that obviously you've
I need to keep a book of all your words. It's fantastic.
You've because of the overpowering, you've got the option of really controlling your ambient light. So for instance, if you're outdoors and you've got the sun behind you, if your strobes are powerful enough, you can balance out the sun if you wanted to. Or if you're indoors, you've got the option of actually killing off any other ambient light that's also in the room as well. So you can fire your lights so powerful that they're killing off any other light sort of within there as well. So and I think just from the design of them as well, because I think the way that they were initially designed. So if you think of, a flash gun on top of your camera, and it might need to reach, the other end of a football field for photographers that use it for football photography and stuff, then they need to have that reach. And, they have built-in zooms, don't they? And you can really take advantage to that, even using off cameras as well. So they can actually throw the light quite far if you wanted to. So you could have a light, a strobe light really off to one side, and then you can throw the light into a scene if you wanted to. So I think it's ultimately, you do get a lot of flexibility with strobe lighting. It just takes a lot of time.
If you're willing to put the effort in, and the more effort you put in and the more time you put in, the more you understand it. So you can rock up to a situation and know, I'm going to start at 1/64th power or whatever, and then you can add light rather than having to take it away all the time. And also you don't blind your subject straight away. 1/1 power, just like can't see anymore, and you just get those funny lines in your eyes. So yeah, it's
I think sorry mate.
No,
Oh, I can't wait to get back on the same camera. This is just, especially for stuff like today. I think you've hit on a really nice thing there as well about learning to get into flash. Maybe if you just figure out what the exposure is of the room, and then actually just start adding flash from that exposure, and then you start to get an understanding of what other light happens, and you can start tweaking from there. I think that's a really good sort of tip.
I know when you gave me a tip about flash, because I used to hate flash, and then you said get your whole one shot without any flash and see how you like that, then add a head in or whatever, and just see how much is it affecting. Is it affecting your shot at all? If not, then obviously you can add a bit more, and being able to build up the light in that way so you can see the effect as you build up. And then I don't know, it definitely helped me in my photography, especially with TTL as well, being able to dial it back and stuff, because then I could get the effect I wanted, because I don't like the harsh light that quite often comes from strobes when you're getting into it and you have no idea what you're doing. That kind of just like, cat caught in the headlights sort of situation. So I definitely find it easier with flash now that I understand those things to kind of build up, which LED kind of does for you straight away. You just switch them on and go, ooh, that's too much, or, oh, that's not enough. But I do think LED, unless you're willing to put a lot of money in for outdoor stuff in terms of power, then I definitely think strobe's the way to go. And it'll be way, way more useful for portraits. If, however, you're getting into video, I think that's a different conversation. And then LED is obviously the way to go, or continuous. I keep saying LED, but you can get tungsten continuous.
Yeah.
But LED just seems to be a much better choice really at the moment. So.
Yeah. So I think in conclusion, just before we go into some of the comments, I hate to think what they're this week, but I think if you're getting into lighting, okay, so you're just starting to, wonder what adding extra lighting does, especially for portraiture, because I think a lot of lighting is based around portraiture, isn't it? And probably, I've forgotten, it's still life work as well. So if you're getting into it, I think, buying some panels, some, relatively inexpensive ones. We do the Nanlite sort of small panels that fit on top of the cameras for about £50, and they're really good quality lights for the price that they are. And that's going to give you a really good idea about, getting in, seeing where light falls onto a subject. So it gives you a really good idea of getting into photography. But yeah, if you're taking lighting a little bit more seriously, and you're wanting to sort of go into the great outdoors and, make sure you've got all your bases covered, it's probably worth sticking with the flash lighting. So
another practical part of strobes versus LED panels is LED panels behave like doors or sails. If you're in a windy situation, then an LED panel is likely to go over pretty quickly. Versus, a speed light, unless the speed light has a softbox on it, and then all bets are off as to how long it's going to stay standing at. But
no, definitely. So
right,
yes.
Shall we go to the comments?
Go to the comments.
Right, quickly. This one. Snowden Curtis says, one of my Olympus lens caps has come apart, all parts present. Do you have any suggestions as to type of glue to use? I don't know. Sticking them together could be a bit awkward sometimes. I'd say probably like a gel super glue would probably be best. Yeah. It's probably a little less brittle than just straight up super glue.
I think as well, like I really there's certain chemicals in glue. When it dries, how it dries, it uses more things that dry quicker, and the way that they evaporate. If it's sort of like quick drying stuff, they can cause like gases to get into like lenses and stuff like that. So I think I don't know whether this stuff exists or not, but a fairly natural sort of type of glue, I think, that helps more than anything, or especially that something isn't fast drying. I found with the fast drying stuff that release the chemicals, they can cause some problems with lenses sort of fogging up on the inside and stuff. So be very careful. Obviously, if you're ever unsure, you can pop it in and we can have a look at it and advise. So that's fine. Sure. And we've got some tuber glue here. Somewhere.
Graham says, do you sell any LED panels? And then he says, decent LED panels are pricey. Yes, we do sell LED panels. They can be pricey depending on what you buy and what you want. I think that's finding out what you want is the most important part, and then choosing the correct tool for the job. Because Nanlite do some really, really good stuff. And whilst it's not cheap, it's definitely more cost effective than, some of the other brands that are available in the market, which is one of the reasons we stock them, because we can help people get into continuous light for quite a small amount of money.
And they build up quite well as well, don't they? So like the one that we're using, it doesn't come with the batteries, but you can add them on sort of in the future.
And they're all standard, the Sony Fit batteries. I can't remember what they call them. With the
exactly.
2 pins.
These panels are about 110, 120, something like that.
And you can buy different size batteries as well, can't you? So you can carry loads with you, or have really big bricks on the back, and it'll go for a pretty decent amount of time. And those Nanlites seem to last quite a long time without any power, except external power. They've got the built-in lithium ions, and they seem to work really well, to be fair. So Steve says, do you get a diffuser for softbox effects, or is it not needed? Presume you could set up key, fill, and hair light as in flash setter. Yeah, there's different modifiers for LED. You can get all sorts of shapes and sizes. So it depends what you're trying to achieve as to what modifiers are available. But
I think,
go ahead.
Carry on, Joel. Carry on.
And there you go.
All right. I think the way that LEDs are made, they're like a softbox, and then I think to come away from that, so to get something that you would almost get off a strobe, they do Fresnel lights that really direct the light
lenses,
with lenses in that work very similar to how actually a strobe light works. I think the company that bridges the gap between those two is probably Rotolight, because they're very directional to start with, and then you need to buy sort of diffuser panels sort of for them. So yeah, I don't know what you recommend to that, Joel.
Yeah, no, I think it just depends because there's so many different things available, and there's lots to choose from. Anne says, "Good afternoon, chaps. Hello. I hope you're coming back this way with Flapjack in the not too distant future."
They were good.
They were really good. Andrew says, "It depends on the type, Steve, but even the soft lights, you might still want additional diffusion." There we go. And Steve says, "Cheers to that." Andrew also says, "I can see a meme coming on." Oh dear. David says, "You can, with the right hardware strobe, an LED light. This way you can get up to 10 times brightness out of them as long as the duty cycle remains at 100%. I.e., if you strobe it on for 1/500th of a second, it must be off for the next 9/500ths of a second." Makes sense. I think, Rotolight do that because Rotolight do a flash. You know, the circle ones, they do flash. I've never really tried it, to be honest. Maybe I should give it a go because we've got some downstairs. Andrew says, "I know Rotolight offered that feature on some of their lights. Is anyone else doing it, or is this the external hardware?" I'm not sure. I've not really been asked that much for LED panels that'll do flash. So, David says, "External hardware LEDs are current driven, not voltage driven." I think it makes sense. And fixed studio strobes often have modeling lights to allow you to see where light is going to fall. This is very 100%. True. And it's definitely worth considering when you're buying studio heads. John says, "Polaroid back on medium format in the day for tests too." Oh yeah, the good old days.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot that it was like that. Yeah. When you had to get, because
we don't know we're born nowadays, do we?
No, because it would be you'd have to get so far with a light meter. I've forgotten even I haven't forgotten how to use a light meter, but I've completely forgotten about light meters recently because we all do this sort of like test and try scenario. But yeah, it used to be like we had to use a light meter to sort of balance everything out of how we wanted to. And then we would sort of put on the Polaroid and see just whether we managed to, good old days. Yeah. Sorry,
Andrew says, "If you were rubbish at fractions at school, you're probably best sticking to LED." Yeah, that's probably true, to be fair. Anne says, "I love my little Manfrotto Lumi Muse for macro out in the field." Yes, they're really good. And also the Lume Cubes, because they're like waterproof. They're Bluetooth controllable as well. They're pretty expensive for the small unit, but having the control and the fact that you could like throw them against a wall and they'd still be okay. It's a pretty good situation to be in. Steve says, "I've still got the Len Carter kit I got from you. Maybe just need to look at the kit I use on the heads to help reduce space required. Anything to simplify my steps. No studio, so people's rooms can often, be small." That is very true. And I think that's part of looking at what's available for the stuff that you've got, because flash, whilst it's obviously quite a big topic, a lot of it comes down to your modifiers. You know, like if you're a car photographer, you're using softboxes that are like, I don't know, 5 feet long and 1 foot wide. Do you know what I mean? Which is very obscure kind of modifier for like portraits, for instance. But and then understanding that you might only need one head and then a number of reflectors to get that light balanced the way that you want it. I think that's also, simplicity is easier than adding loads of heads and then trying to figure out how to balance it all out. So Outdoor portraits with LED requires some more serious kit with a higher outputs. Then you are into big video batteries to stay portable. Yeah, 100%. And when you look at, like you were saying, Paul, the video stuff that they're like carting around for big productions, they're not small lights, are they?
No, they're not. No,
like carrying massive car batteries around with you. So
yeah, and like almost on like a crane, aren't they? If they want the light up somewhere, they need something like that
with a trailer with a generator in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Graham says Godox flash cheap and it works. Yes, and we stock Godox. We've not been ordering much in recently, given the fact that we've not really been open to show people. But if you have any requirements for Godox stuff, let us know, because we can definitely get hold of it. And we're going to be building up our like studio and strobe equipment stock, and also doing more workshops around location based lighting and stuff like that, because we know how much people like it and how much they would enjoy getting to know it more. And also working with photographers that have the knowledge and the ability to teach really well, so that you can feel way more confident with the stuff you've already got. And also knowing when it's worth buying stuff that you need to help get you further along in your journey with light modification. So Snowden says, thank you. No problem at all. It'd be good to see you. Gareth says, good afternoon, gents. Good afternoon, Gareth. I hope you're well, and hopefully we can catch up soon. And then Graham says, I didn't know that. I'm guessing that's about the Godox side of things, but they've just recently become available through our suppliers, because you used to only be able to get them direct, or order them, import them in, and we don't like to import stuff in unless it's through a proper supplier or distributor, because then we can offer better aftercare and service to you.
Because obviously without that, that support behind us, then if something goes wrong, then last thing we want to do is say, well, unfortunately it's broken, we're gonna have to send it back to China to get repaired. If there's obviously UK distribution, then it sort of goes to UK repairers, and it's just an awful lot easier to deal with, so we can give that better support.
Yeah, it's one of the first things we check when a new product comes onto the market that's being offered to us, is the fact that we make sure that we can get it repaired or replaced very quickly for you. So we don't have nonsense in our shop. Only quality items. There we go. That's all the comments, I think.
Sorry, is that all the comments? Sorry. Yeah. That's brilliant. Well, hopefully that's been informative. If not, then it doesn't matter. Then it's only it's only an hour. It's fine. It's only an hour of your life that you're not going to get back. No, I'm sure that did help to some people. And big thank you once again for everything, especially David and Andrew with backing it with some of the very technical stuff as well. That's always appreciated. So
you can always rely on David.
Yeah, thank you very much.
At least he didn't tell us we were wrong today.
No, I just, I don't think
we're waiting for the hashtag, aren't we?
Yeah, lighting. We do quite well with lighting though here, don't we? Well, I think anyway.
So.
Yeah.
Oh dear, look at this. Thanks for the entertainment. You're welcome, John. And Yvonne says, I just watched for the comedy element. Oh dear.
Well, we know our audience now.
Yeah.
Maybe if someone does suggest that cartwheel in as the beginning, that might have to be a thing, Joel.
I'm going to have to put 999 into my phone ready for when you do a cartwheel, especially after your escapades up the stairs earlier.
I know, I can't even skip steps anymore, can I?
I thought I was going to have to get the accident book. Describe the accident. Paul tried running up the stairs.
I was trying to tackle 4 at a time, though, to be fair.
That is true.
So
have your shins recovered?
Yeah. That's brilliant. Joel, any final thoughts before we break up for the weekend?
No, just make sure you've got waterproof gear. We're open tomorrow if you want any waterproof camera covers. Yeah. We've got some of those in stock.
We do have them. Yeah, you can still go out and enjoy photography even in the rain.
Oh, Paul, we've missed out. We need David to help us with our non-existent script writing.
Oh, no.
I feel like we're going to have to refilm the whole thing now.
That's it. No, that's it. Oh, it's live, isn't it?
Do you think we could... we're going to have to figure out if we could do like a reenactment of some famous sketches, but replace the locations with a camera shop instead. Because I feel like, camera side, we've got those drawers like he's got in the, the old, the shop in the Four Candles sketch.
I think we need to do a sketch. Yeah. But again, we need to be in an area where we can film without masks on and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, that's true.
We're not far away though. We're not far away.
No, that's true. Maybe we can do a Christmas special.
Yeah. That'd be good. That'd be good.
Oh, yes, David. This camera is dead. It's pining for the fjords. Never mind the fjords, my lad. Oh, this is going to be quality. Oh, dear. All right. Add in the comments any more famous sketches and we'll see if we can incorporate them into a camera shot.
We'll try and get them in.
The Dead Parrot sketch is genuinely one of my favourite sketches ever.
It's such a
gets me every time.
So good. Absolutely so good. Big thank you to everyone that's watched. Massive thank you to everyone that's watched live and commented as well. It's always wonderful to see your lovely comments. Loads here, aren't there, Joel, this week again? So big thank you for commenting and joining in with the conversation. There's still more coming in, is there? So we're wrapping up now.
Yeah.
We do take time and read all the comments, and it's lovely. If you haven't already, make sure that you go and go over to our Facebook and YouTube channels, hit the like, subscribe, or whatever it. Yeah. Hit the like button on this video as well, and please share the videos as well. So the more you share the videos, the more it sort of spreads the word about what we do here on these weekly episodes, and also as a company, Cambrian. So it's always most appreciated. So I think that's it for this week. Unless did you want to end on a comment? They're not appropriate.
No, Andrew just said, so. Have you turned it off and on again? Oh, that's perfect.
It is sketch. Brilliant. Yeah,
tried a new battery.
I don't think that's a sketch though. That's something.
That's real life.
That is real life.
Have you turned it to S mode for Seagull? I've had that on the phone. 100% had that on the phone. Oh, David's might just be hibernating. Oh, this is going to be great. Right, keep adding. We're definitely going to do a sketch at some point in the future.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.
Bye now.